Okay, Skyhawk here, and I've got another piston invention here, the ice cube. I know Doc M has made one of these. I believe my wiring is mine is wired differently. So I'm going to do a tutorial on it. Basically, how this works is we start out with an infinite spring, creating a single point, as I call it, of water that gets, or of ice that gets pushed up. Now we get a line of ice, and that gets pushed up into form a plane, and that plane gets pushed over into form a three-dimensional object. And when that's a cube, or as far out as you want, you just have a T-bud set up to close off the freezing of the water. So, in order to make one of these bad boys, you're going to need to set up a 5x5 pad here, and from here you're going to create 4 pistons like so, and then this is where your wall is. So this is all the way, that's your wall, and then out here you're going to have an infinite spring. So this will be an infinite spring, this will be your infinite water source. We're going to need, once this freezes, since this will be open to the air, we're going to need a block to push it up. We're also going to need a way to push it over and onto here. And finally, we're going to need a way to detect that it has frozen. So we're going to create a bud switch for that. I'm going to use snow to get redstone and stuff. So here's a basic 1x1, or a 1 wide bud switch here. And go 1, 2, 3, up 1. Now this one absolutely has to be a repeater, no matter how you route this. And I have it set on 2 and it works pretty well. Now in order to keep this from running like a clock, because if this piston updates, it'll update this, we need to put this in a pulse limiter. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. We also need to control this piston and this piston. And this piston needs to be a tick slower than this piston. That's actually pretty easy to do. Dot of redstone there. Hole in the ground. Sticky piston. Snow. Following that, we have a repeater to pull the signal out of this block. Going into, or I should say down, over to like this. So this block back here is adjacent to the piston, so that'll make it work. Okay, so you're gonna have an update there. You're also gonna want to be able to get the signal up, and you can set this on 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever you want to do. So there's your basic setup there. Following this, you're going to need a way to detect when you get 4 pieces of ice over here. You're going to need a bud switch to detect that. So let's build a one that goes in a 90-degree angle. Same concept. Okay, so you can place blocks. Okay, here's where your torch goes. Following that, we have an L shape here, and up 1 block. This one has to be the repeater, set on 2 ticks or more. And this one I'm going to build with a block there, and a piece of redstone here. You will see why in a little bit. This will function as a bud switch. Now I need to hook this into these pistons in order to move the 4 blocks up. That isn't hard. You guys can probably figure this one out on yourself. So we have 4 redstone and we get the signal out of this block. Out of this block, powering this block. So, now we can... Yeah, that's pretty easy, not hard to do. Okay, so this whole design works on the basis of independent bud switches, so there's no complicated wiring in here, really. So the next thing we need to do is we need to take the since when the plane of ice, I'm going to call it, is complete, so when we have 4 blocks high, so we're going to count up from on top of this piston, so 1, 2, 3, and then we need to sense on the 4th one. So like this, and we're going to build a one exactly like this with the exception of just redstone instead of this block. You could use that block if you wanted to, but I think it's just easier. Anyway, from here, and then we're going to go place a repeater on this block. And we're going to create our little torch tower inverter thing, followed by this L shape and that block kitty cornered from this block. So, and then we must have a repeater set to a 2, 3, or 4 right there. And now we have another functioning bud switch. But we need to get this to control something. So this is what we're going to do next. We are going to build an array of pistons. So it's going to be 16 pistons total from this one, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to have 4 levels. And then we need to find a way to power all these things. And a good way to do that is to go second one up. Just come out one away from the piston. I go up one more. And now we have you'll notice this torch is powering these 2 pistons, and this torch is powering these 2 pistons. We also need to have a way to control these torches. So if we do this... Okay, so now we need to power these wires to control these torches, which control these pistons, because these can't be in the on state all the time. It also needs to be inverted, so the easiest way really to do that is just to do this here. So control the top row, and then if we put another one underneath here, we'll control the bottom row. And then to control this, we can have a dot of redstone here, and that's powering this block, which goes into here. So it's really not that hard, it's just you gotta work around some stuff. Okay, so after this, we have a functional one that'll push out a 4 this way, 4 this way, by 15 this way. We need to find a way to stop that excessive amount of blocks. So the way I do it is I just make another bud switch. But this bud switch is a little bit different. So I'm just going to first make a little bit of wall here. This is our main wall. In fact, let's fill in a little bit more of this, because this is stuff we're going to see. Alright, and you know what, this can stay. Yeah, I can stay like that. And then we need to create our way that the ice is going to get in here and still have it look okay. Okay, so from here, we're going to need to create what's known as a T-bud. And I'll show you on the other one. A T-bud gets rid of the auto resetting part of a bud switch. So it acts as a T flip-flop and a bud switch, which is really handy. And I'm going to control this piston here that stops the freezing process. So basically I'm just going to recreate this. So going out 5 from the pistons here. So this one's always going to be an empty block here once these pistons push it. So there's 1. This is number 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we need to get the right height, so we're going to go up 1 more and up another one with the piston. Now this is equal with the height of the cube of ice you're going to create. From here you want to go down like so and put a torch there. I want to go up, or actually out 3, like right here. And now you're going to turn a corner and go into a block that's set diagonally from the piston. So right here. And before we hook this up as a bud switch, I'm going to place these blocks here to remove a lot of annoying piston movements. Okay, so now we just need to hook this up. And don't forget, when you make a bud switch or a T-bud, the repeater always has to go into the block that's above it or near it, the last block that's powered. So these you won't see. There's gonna be a roof here. So this is the roof. In fact, let's put some glass. No, yeah, let's put some glass in here. Let's go too wide with glass here. So we have a little window here. And a little skylight. Alright, so now there's only one thing left to do here. Well, actually 2. We're going to finish this up a little bit more. Now you can jazz this up however you really want to. Okay, so from here, we need to have a piston to control the water freezing. And remember, we can't cover up this spot, because this is where the water freezes at. And that needs to be open to the air above, no blocks above that. So we need to take power from this wire, and actually we need to reset or change this bud switch. So here's a good way to do something like that. You can, since the graphic updates, you can change with the repeater. So I'm just going to leave that there for right now. I have to remember I want the opposite effect, so like this. Now from here I'm going to put a torch, some redstone down like this, and this will control the thing. When you have a block adjacent to a piston, of course it fires, and you can use wire below here to create a long, skinny, downward kind of torch tower, which is really good. I want to break this, and that'll update it one final time. Of course, now we need to break the block. So, update it once more, break the block, and bring it back in. And that should leave this open. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to square everything off here. This is where the water freezes at. Bring it up. And over. And now you have a functioning ice maker. If you want to add a floor in like this, to make it so there's no spaces underneath there where something like spiders could spawn or anything, you can do that. And add some nice sand stairs. I want to use them, they're new. Add some nice stairs up to your ice maker. You don't need to stand around here really, you just need to have this chunk loaded. So, oh, don't forget the water. We need the water in this thing. So, I'm gonna cause some updates when I place the water in here, and I'm gonna be ended up pushed up and over. So I'm gonna try and do this fast. So there we go. And since this is open to the air, it'll freeze. So let's pretend. Now the first ice block is gonna be like in the wall, so you won't be able to really use it, but it'll just update in. And then those pistons you just heard were the ones, these pistons right here, going up. And if you do this, put in 12 more ice. So if you put in, from now it's 4 more ice from now, you're gonna see this array of pistons go. Because it's hitting the bud switches and these go. And now you've got your first sheet of ice you can harvest. And just go crazy on this. So I'm not taking full credit for this design. I'm just taking partial credit for the way I wired it up here. It's pretty compact. Yeah, so this is Skyhawk. Peace.